B.2, include files in servlets and JSP. In this part, we will compare how to include a resource from another resource. Here, the resource could be servlet JSP. Yeah. All right. So let's look at the servlet include first. Inside servlet, you can also include a resource. Yeah. So how to do it? Yeah. It's pretty simple. Yeah. We use the same object to do the object we use to do forward request dispatcher object. Okay? Yeah. Using that object, we can dispatching. So here, when you see dispatching, that means forward. Okay? Yeah. Forward here. Okay? Through this object, dispatching. Yeah. Although dispatching more general than forward, right? Redirect can also be treated as dispatching. Yeah. Is that? Yeah, may not be. Yeah, probably dispatching. It's better understanding is forward. Yeah, because redirect, you can redirect to external resource, right? Yeah. Dispatching, yeah. So should be internal resource. Yeah. So that from that understanding. Yeah, because when we talk about dispatching, you talk about forward your request to another resource. That's the meaning of dispatching. Yeah. So that, yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, we'd better use the forward for understanding. Send redirect, it's not. Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's better to separate these two concepts. Yeah. All right. But for the resource, you can include here forward. Yeah, forward first, then include next. For the resource, you can forward HTML, servlet, or JSP. Yeah, typically, we include these types of resources. Yeah. But this interface can also do another thing, include content of another resource. So the way we do it, the same, but we just change from forward to include. That's simple. So you can do include, yeah. Because there are two methods in that request dispatcher object. Only two methods. You can use forward, include, these two methods. Yeah. The way to use it, similar, just change the method name. Here, let me give you a simple example. All right. The first line, we get a resource we want to dispatch. Okay, yeah, so here, yeah. Dispatch, I mean, based on the name here, dispatcher, right? Related to dispatcher. So, yeah. But here, there are two different ways to dispatch a resource. One is the forward way, another is include way. Yeah, this is a better understanding. Yeah, all right, yeah. So dispatching, now our current understanding is this. Two ways to do dispatching. Forward way, include way. Okay? Then it's better, but no redirect way, okay? Redirect way, we do not call dispatching, yeah. It's redirect, different concept, yeah. In this way, so we can separate, we can make our understanding more precise, yeah. All right, then next line, include request response. The meaning, the meaning. Yeah. So regarding the meaning, yeah. I want to delay a little bit. Precise meaning. Yeah. Because this video, the whole topic we compare, that include ways. So in the next a few slides, we will explain that exact meaning. Yeah. So you will see it soon. Yeah. So now here. Yeah. All right. Next. Before we do the discussion, I want to introduce another concept called JSP actions. Because using this action, we can also do include. Another include. So that's why we want to compare different ways of file inclusions. Yeah. Different ways of file inclusions. Yeah. So let me introduce this concept first. JSP actions concept. What's that? It is a special JSP element. JSP has several elements. This is another important one. Later we will use this type of elements a lot. Okay? JSP action uses constructs in XML syntax. Why is that XML syntax? Why XML syntax? Yeah, so we will see. To control the behavior of the servlet engine. Now here the important thing is XML syntax. Because we can control the behavior of servlet engine not using XML syntax, right? Yeah. Other ways, other JSP elements we can use to control servlet engine, behavior of servlet engine. Yeah, it's right. It's correct. Yeah. But sometimes we need this way, this special way. This special way has its advantage, has its own advantage. In some situations we need, so it's important. Yeah. Here, let me give you two situations we could use the XML syntax. One situation is regarding your document structure. You know, your HTML document follows, most of the part follows XML syntax, right? Not 100%. Some place you may violate the XML syntax. Some places. Yeah. But most part, you'll follow the XML syntax. XML, so typically, whenever you have an opening tag, you have to close it. So every element, you have to close it completely. XML requirement. HTML, you may not require that. Yeah. So, but sometimes those rules important, especially for some parser, you know. Yeah. For some parsers. So if you close your elements properly, then that will make the parsers much easier to work, to extract information from your document. Yeah. So that's one situation. Yeah. But there is another reason. Later we will see another reason. Yeah. Sometimes we want to do communication with the element, or we want to pass some data to some resource or some, you know, yeah, let's say resource. Yeah. In the general term, just the resource. We want to pass data to the resource. Yeah. So this XML way has its advantage. Later we will see that. So you can, because you can see without using this way, if you want to do the same thing, although you can do it, but it will be more complicated. So this syntax has definitely, it has its advantage. Yeah. All right. So, but this syntax can be used in many different ways. Yeah. So we really need this new JSP element. Yeah. All right. The syntax like this. Using tags, yeah, because if you want to follow XML syntax, you have to do everything using that standard tag format, opening, closing tag format. Okay, yeah. So here, I show you a simple example. The tag name, the format of the tag name always start with JSP because it's a JSP action. Always start with JSP colon. Then action name. JSP colon action name. Okay. So there are many different action names after JSP colon. Okay. You use that whole thing as your tag name. Don't forget to close it. Even if you have an empty element, yeah, sometimes you don't have content for the element, but you use this way to close it. Okay. Slash greater than sign to close it. That means you close it. The content is empty, so you close it. Okay. Because you just use attributes. Yeah. All right. So that's the structure of this JSP action. Yeah. And we can do, yeah, because I mentioned at the beginning, include using JSP action to do file inclusion. Yeah. All right. Okay. What JSP actions can do? First, dynamically insert a file. That's the include way. Yeah, we will see it. But it's dynamically, not statically. Not statically. Yeah. The way we learned before, we learned one include way before. So what's that? So we use the directive, right? JSP directive. Remember? So that way, at, right? Directive. Okay? Include. Remember in our Duke example, we use, that's one way, one inclusion, one file inclusion way, but that's static. Static way. Here, dynamic way. And the next slide, we will compare the difference between static way, dynamic way. Yeah. All right. Reuse Java Beans components. Here you see this Java Bean concept. Java Beans components. This is another very important fundamental concept in Java. So in our next module, so after we finish this module, when we start module 4, we will learn Java Bean. Important. Yeah, so we will leave module 4 to do it. Yeah. All right. Forward the user to another page. Yeah. Using action, we can also do forward. Yeah. Something we can use many different ways to do it. Inclusion, other than two ways I talk about here, one JSP directive, another JSP action, there is another way. Later we will see. We have third way we will cover in this class. We have at least 3 different ways to include files. Yeah. Something we can use many different ways to do. Yeah. But they have some differences. Yeah. All right. Generate HTML for the Java plugin. Yeah. So for using this action, if you want to add a special Java plugin, Yeah, you can do it. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of things you can do. Yeah. But we may not go there. Okay. Yeah. We may not cover everything that JSP actions can do. Yeah. All right. Next, we want to compare two different ways to include files, dynamic and static. So let's look at what's the meaning of dynamic file inclusion. Yeah, the meaning is this. All right, so here, let us use the JSP example. Yeah, because for the inclusion, most of the time, we do the JSP inclusion. For servlet way inclusion, we rarely use it. Although we just learned at the beginning, we learned we can do servlet inclusion, but it is rarely used. Yeah, you just know it, we can do it. But 90-something% of the time, people never use it. Okay, yeah. All right, so we just talk about JSP file inclusion. The syntax is like this. JSP : that page attribute. You specify page attribute. Then the specific path, location of your resource. That's simple, in that way. But this is dynamic file inclusion. So we want to understand what is the difference. Yeah, we will see that. Yeah. All right. First, let us learn some properties of this inclusion type. First, the included file is compiled separately. That's one property. Including JSP, included JSP, two different. They are compiled separately. Okay? Separately. So you compile this JSP first. Later, sometime you compile another one. Then they work together. Okay? Then they work together. So we're trying to understand the connection between them. Yeah. How do they work together? Yeah, we understand that part. Yeah. Yeah. The request. So that's the way, internal way to do the inclusion. The request is temporarily forwarded to the included JSP. Yeah. So currently, we are at the including JSP. So there is a request scope, right? So you follow that request scope going down. Then you reach the line, this include tag, this line. Then the request is temporarily forwarded. Look at this forwarded. So that means this file stays in the same request scope, but you go to that included JSP. It is compiled, so it can run, it can generate output, right? Yeah. So the output generated, you can take it and put here. Okay. So the next line, the resulting output of that JSP is written to the response. Yeah. Yeah. Because you have this current location, right? Yeah. So you jump to another JSP, do some data processing. You may have some output generated. Whatever output it is, when you come back, you put right here, right this place. Yeah. After that, then you go down. Proceed to do the remaining part. Yeah. All right. Then the control returns back to the including JSP and complete the remaining processing work. That is the whole mechanism, how things work. Yeah. So with this understanding, now we can compare two different ways, including files. Yeah. All right. The first way, directive, include directive, that's static way. Okay. So how does it work? Yeah. Copy everything in the included file and paste it into the current file at the including right at that place, that line. Yeah. You have a JSP directive line. So right at that location. Example is like this. Here we want to include JSP, another JSP file right here. Okay. So how to do it? Copy the source code. Okay. The JSP, you have source code, right? Yeah. Copy paste. Yeah. Paste, put here. Then compile the whole new file. After you copy paste, you compile the whole new file. Okay? Yeah. All right. But for JSP :include action, you do not do it. You do it in a different way. You insert the response of the output. Response means the output of that header.jsp at the runtime. This is at the translation time. Okay? So this is at the translation time. At the translation time, you do the include, copy paste. Yeah. It's the perfect place to do it at the translation time. Copy paste. Then you treat the whole new file as a new JSP. Then you compile the whole thing. Yeah. Right? But this time, runtime, not translation time. They compiled separately. At the runtime, they work together. So that's the difference. So the container is creating request dispatcher. Yeah, because when you do forward way, you need to use a request dispatcher object. But you cannot see it because the container does it in a hidden way. Okay? Yeah. So the container uses this object. Yeah. From the page attribute, right? Yeah, here refers to this part. So you use the dispatcher object page attribute point to this resource. Okay, so then you do the inclusion. Yeah. So then, the output, put, yeah. And it can call this include method internally. Okay, internally. Yeah. All right. So then, so you can see in this way, the dispatched included JSP, yeah, this dispatched included dynamic inclusion executes against the same request and the response object in the same request scope. Yeah, same request scope. Yeah. When you pass data, yeah, think about this. Yeah. Here, the meaning of this, yeah, if I draw a diagram, so it's like this, yeah. Diagram, okay? All right. So I have P1. In my P1, I include P2, okay? Yeah. Because they are in the same request scope, right? Same request scope. So in P2, I can write some data in the same request scope, right? Yeah, I can write some data. Yeah. Then, because when you get back to, this is P1, right? Sorry. All right. But after you finish processing in P2, you need to get back to P1 another time, right? After you get back to P1, you can access the data you right into the request scope because they are in the same request scope. So that's why you can do that. Okay? So you can do some data communication between these different JSP pages. Yeah. All right. next, after we understand the differences here, next we want to compare, under what situation, which way is better. Yeah. So in this slide, we look at that question. Yeah. Which include way to use? Yeah. Here, I just give you some simple situations, some pretty obvious decisions you can make. Yeah. First, consider the performance aspect. Yeah. All right. So with the directive, when you use the directive way, JSP directive way, yeah, the performance hit happens only once. Yep. Compile time, right? Translation, copy, compile. That step a little slow. But after that, because the whole file already compiled as an integral part, after that, every time when you call it, it is very fast. Okay, yeah. So from the performance point of view, the directive way is faster. Okay, it is faster, yeah, than the dynamic inclusion way. Yeah. All right. But there is some limitation for this way. Yeah. If the included file won't change, yeah, pretty much fixed. The file included pretty much fixed. Yeah. You do not need to change frequently. Yeah. So this way is better. Yeah. So the other side, now you know under what situation you should go the other side. The included file changes frequently or change. Yeah. Change occasionally. Yeah, change. Okay. Yeah. Then you may feel dynamic way, can handle that change well, right? Can handle that change well, right? Yeah, in a dynamic way. Yeah. But there is another advantage for the dynamic way. Yeah. Performance-wise, it is slower, but it has some other advantages. You may need to use the extra feature it has. Yeah. So that's customizing the included document. That's its advantage. Yeah, included document. Yeah. For example, you can pass parameters to the included file, JSP. How can you do that? You want to pass outside parameters to that included JSP file. We use this tag, JSP:\param. JSP action, another JSP action. Here it is very useful. Yeah. All right, the syntax like this. Tag away, right. JSP:\include, yeah, so include the JSP. Yeah. Now you want to pass some special parameter with value, certain value into that included JSP. Sometimes you need to do that. Yeah. So this way is better. So this way you have the chance to do that. Data passing. Okay? Yeah. Then, so now we're talking about inside the header.jsp. Okay? In the included file, that header.jsp. How do we access that parameter, right? We like to access the parameter values. Here I show you an example. Look at this is the way to access. But this expression is new to us at this point. Now, here, look at this notation. $, a pair of curly braces, and we put some expressions inside. This is called, this kind of special structure, it is called expression language. JSP expression, JSP expression language. Yeah. Usually people just call it EL. EL. Okay. EL is a very nice feature of JSP. Extremely powerful, extremely useful. Yeah. And we will have a big module to study that. Yeah. So we need to use one whole module to study EL. Probably add another topic, but EL is a big important topic we need to learn. Yeah. All right. That's the video part 2, B.2.